What are you actually expecting from the Biden task force? Could we look at a national lockdown, which would be unprecedented in the U.S., basically being some kind of, circuit breaker to stop the number of cases from rising?
Well, good morning. So right now, when we look at the task force and signals we're getting is that, and look at the names on this list, we know that an evidence-based and data-based approach will be taken. This is a fantastic group of people, everything from, Eric Goosby, Micah Osterholm, as you just mentioned, Lou Borio. All these names are fantastic, very informed infectious disease experts. So I would say kudos to the Biden administration for these names and others. From what I know about many of these people on this list, and I do know many of them, is that they will take a very evidence-based structure. So it may mean that based on numbers of counts right now, we've now reached 10 million. In the last 10 days, we've seen a 1 million additional cases of COVID-19 just in 10 days, so that the epidemic is accelerating. So their decision-making is really going to be based on what the epidemiology is showing them, and that may mean lockdowns in certain areas. Whether or not that's national or local is to be determined. I would say one more thing. It's striking to me about the task force. There's one glaring absence in this task force. There is no nurse voice on this task force. And importantly, the reason that's important is oftentimes, the injection, in the hand of the individual, the person convincing the patient to get that vaccine is most often the nurse. And really having an idea and a voice on this task force about vaccine hesitancy, particularly the low numbers of vaccine acceptability we're seeing in the population, will be critical. They need a nurse scientist and nursing voices on this task force as well.
But Jason, how do you rebuild that trust then? As you're an expert in nursing. How do you rebuild that trust so that once we have the formula, once we have the shot to give to people, people think it's safe? Is it from the regulators? Do we need to hear from scientists? Who will convince the Americans that this is the right thing to do?
Right. Well, we definitely need trusted voices and receiving the vaccine of whatever form. We need them to be consistent in their messaging, and I think the Biden administration will provide us some consistency in messaging. And we need the task force and its recommendations to be really evidence-based and communicate that in its simplest terms to the American people. So the communication piece is vital, and it must be consistent communication. And then we need to show real leadership amongst people on this task force, the president, the vice president, all moving forward and taking an available vaccine, being willing to stand up and be among the first of the American people to do so, our first responders. All very important signs that this vaccine is safe and effective.